tonight. Glad to be able to share this time with you. And all people who are watching, if you're watching the replay, just give us a thumbs up, give us a like, let us know you're there. That gives us a little clue that we're doing something that you do enjoy.
Glad to be able to share this time with you. All people who are watching, if you're watching the replay, just give us a thumbs up, give us a like, let us know you're there. That gives us a little clue that we're doing something that you do enjoy.
I hear feedback. Interesting. Oh, it's fun. It's fun when you're live and you have little problems, little issues like that.
I was like, what is this? And I realized it's me because I had YouTube on live and I'm sitting here like, wow,
okay.
a lot of noise.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, can I get everything muted here? We're okay.
Wow. That was like, I'm like, ooh, this is irritating. But Robert has everything under control.
We do. Thank you so much for
me. That. Yeah, I just turned it off. I'm not gonna. So I'm just gonna put it on after. But I'm sorry about that. That was me. Anyways, hi everyone.
Hi everyone. Hi Sophia.
Hi. That's a way to enter.
Yeah. Well, you always make an entrance. You got to make an impact, right? And that's what we're here to do. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've got two great mentors on tonight. I'm really looking forward to what they're going to bring. Nickol is coming on momentarily, in another 10 minutes or so. We'll have her on. And then we have Matthew Britt later on. Why don't we talk about Nickol a little bit? Because I love the way you found Nickol online.
Absolutely. I have been following her for a while. And what was very interesting was I became aware of a post that she made very recently. And I'm like, I have to contact Nickol because this is inspiring me so much. And it was in between me doing several things. And it was one of those intuitive things where I'm like, I want to connect to her. And I went into messages and I'm like, oh, I've had communication with her before. I remember. And we just hadn't reconnected.
Wow. Awesome.
Yes. And it was back in Germany, almost like there was already a connection. But then, I was transitioning over to the States. Things got a little heated in that process. And then we dropped communication because just too much was going on. And I'm like, oh, wow. It's so fascinating. You just, when people are on the right frequency, you just always kind of come back together. But I'm like, oh, I remember. So it was really nice. Always we could pick back up where we hadn't where we hadn't been able to continue. But there was already that attraction. I think I don't know how we initially connected, but she had reacted to something I posted. I think that was at the very beginning, and then just this connection was established, and I just love the power of the internet and social media in that way.
Well, you brought up something really interesting too. I love the way you phrased it. You said, you know what, we want to talk to the younger generation, the younger mentors, because our generation, we kind of know what we do. We've been doing this for a long time now, but the younger generation picking up the mantle, and really they're the ones who will replace us at some point down the line. It's really good to see their perspective. Their generation is very different than ours. They're dealing with, we were talking about this earlier, the kind of challenges that they're dealing with are very different than the ones we're dealing with. And I was thinking back the other way. I said, think about the challenges our parents had to deal with, right? It wasn't nearly as difficult. In fact, way back in my parents' day, nobody ever went to see a therapist, or they never talked about their problems. There was no such thing as coaching. I started coaching in 1995, and that was early. Nobody knew what a coach was back then. So yeah, it's very different. They had no one to talk to back then, and they would turn to other things, alcohol, drinking, gambling, that kind of thing, more so than today. Today's kids, they have a tougher time. They have a real tougher time, but they're not afraid to reach out, which is interesting because we see them more and more reaching out for help, right?
Well, I must say I'm learning for my son at this point, certain things, things that I really have to do a check-in with myself, and the generations coming after me are coming equipped with certain skills that I admire a lot. And I think that these generations are, to a certain extent, not completely understood, because the way they're raised is so different than the way we were raised. It's almost like there's a 2-generational gap between both. And then you add in that thing that I just keep on saying, which is the interesting assumption that the next 5 years will be as significant for humanity and development as the past 1,000 years. If you just think about that, what does that mean for any of our generations? Every generation has their set of skills that they came with. And that's why I think it's so valuable that we all connect. And I would love to make Find Your Mentor accessible for kids. That's a different challenge because of safety issues. We have to make it safe enough for children. But we can all learn from each other. And there is no such thing in I'm very unique that way. I think when I see a lot of people who are always very aware of age, I have this disassociation to age based on the age gap between my parents. It just kind of took that away from me. And so I look at people not in terms of age, even though we are absolutely programmed generationally in some way, but age inherently doesn't mean anything except for the meaning we give it. And I do strongly though feel that, be Nickol or younger generations, they are so strong and they are so clear on what they want. My son is so clear with his statements with, I want this and I don't want that. Where he needs strengthening is I'm allowed to speak up. But if I give him that space, he is super clear. And his intuition is so sharp. And I'm like, that's something that I had to unbury again compared to him. So he's getting that from me as much as I can enable that is the voice. Like you can, you can be heard. I want to hear you. Your voice is important. And he's like, okay, then he'll sit up straighter and he's like, okay, this is what I want. And then his voice becomes stronger. And he's only 12, but it's absolutely fascinating. And basically we all really, as we always say with Find Your Mentors, everybody is, we're all here to learn and to teach each other. And there is no generation that, I don't know, has it harder or less hard. I see some of the generations prior to me who are having a really, really tough time because they are still capped. They don't feel like they can speak up and they have generational trauma that has piled up. And I think the older you get, sometimes you can also become in a certain way rigid if you haven't done work consistently over the decades. And when you start, let's say you start off when you're like, I don't know, some people start off when they're 70. I'm full of admiration for that because I know how difficult it is. I've been doing this I started, I guess, when I started reading my first really significant book when I was 21, I think. So I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I think you have too. And I had an idea this morning. I'm like, I'd love to jump on YouTube. I didn't do it today, but I'd love to jump on YouTube today and ask the question to everybody is, when do you think you started truly coaching, mentoring, or giving advice? What age were you? Can you remember, Robert? What age were you?
6.
You know that, right?
I know that, yeah. That's very young.
Wow.
People would always turn to me when I was really, even before 10 years old, people would turn to me and it's like, how come you always know the answers? How come you're always the leader? How come you're always, and they would ask me those kinds of questions. I didn't know at that age that was already part of my fabric, right? How I was born. So it was really interesting to see that was always there. It's like I never had to search for it, never had to look for it. It was just there.
Mm. Yeah. It's a fascinating question. I'd like to ask Nickol in a minute too, when she's aware of like the first time where she really gave advice to somebody, where she, where you're cognizant of advice that you gave.
That'd be a good question. Nickol has joined us in the chat. I could see her in the room there, standing by to jump on. It's fantastic. So that'd be a really good question. So what you're asking, Sophia, just to be clear, is you want people to text us in the chat room or post in the chat room on YouTube, or if you're watching on Rumble, we're also on Rumble. We're also on LinkedIn, but we're gonna watch the chat in YouTube tonight. We're gonna focus there. So if you're watching anywhere else, just join us on YouTube. Find Your Mentor, right, is the channel on YouTube that we're on.
Yes, yeah. I just had to mute myself because I wanted to make sure that, okay, here we go. That one muted, okay.
Okay.
I'll be able to follow alongside if there's any questions or anything.
Yep.
That's fun to be interactive and be able to chat with the people. Well, should we bring Nickol in?
Well, I think we should introduce her. Let's get the drum roll going and let's do a great introduction for her and bring her in. So I didn't know that you knew her previously. You've had, some interaction with her before just this week, which is really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's, I have a very strong intuitive feeling that she is going to become somebody. She's, I think, I feel she is a very specific type of person. It's hard to describe how I feel about her because I know so little still, but I have a very strong feeling that she has huge potential and she's very special. She's a meditation, she'll be able to describe it a little bit better. In her words, all the things that she is, but a meditation instructor.
Yeah.
And her journey also, how she became a meditation instructor and what led her to now being able to help other people, which is usually our story when we go through hardship and then we start expanding and learning certain things in the process of healing ourselves or activating our potential. We're all here with a certain purpose and a set of skills, and maybe the generation like Nickol and younger, they just imagine, Robert, if we would have activated sooner. I mean, I'm just thinking about myself. If I would have been able to activate sooner, I would be in a different place now too. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. And, you talk about the hardships. Everyone goes through hardships, and some people get defeated by them, and some people use them as a leverage point and a turning point. And I think Nickol has got a story that, she used her hardship, the challenges that she had with depression and such. She's using it as a stepping stone to move up to the next level and use it to be able to help other people. And that's the ideal solution. You take the lesson and you leave the pain behind, and you learn the lesson, and then now you have the experience where you can help other people. And I know you and I both do that in our lives because the things that we've been through and challenges we've been through, we see someone else going through it. You know what? Don't worry about it. Been there. I know how to get out of this. You know what I mean? We can help them so much easier.
Exactly.
Yep.
Tony said you either decide to keep on suffering or to succeed.
Yep. Be the victim or the victor. Which one do you want to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we both got exposed to Tony today, did we?
I think we did.
It certainly sounds like it. Recording Tony Robbins again. Okay, good.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest for sure.
No question.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's invite Nickol in.
Okay. Come on in, Nickol. Welcome to the program.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hello, Nickol.
Hi, Sophia. Hi, Robert.
How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. I'm so excited.
It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Okay, so where do we start with you tonight? What would you like to tell us about what you do? Give us a little bit of your background. I want to hear the story about how you defeated depression and now what you do and help your clients going forward. Fill us in.
All right. So let's start from the beginning. I moved to United States when I was 12 years old as a very young child, and I didn't know anybody here. I didn't know the language, and I did not adjust very well. So as my teenage years progressed, I became very depressed. I had a lot of anxiety, especially social anxiety. That's something that I've struggled with for many, many years. And then many years later, I came across meditation. I started learning how to heal yourself. I started getting more into spirituality and psychology. I went to college, to university to get a psychology degree, but my main focus is usually spiritual. So I feel like all those answers, even the guidance to start doing meditation, I feel like it came from my higher self, and I feel like it's always been guiding me to how to heal myself. And I feel like all of my hardships that I went through, they had to happen. And I'm so happy that they did, because I would never be able to help others. I would never be able to understand how others feel who might need help. So I'm very happy that it happened. And I can't wait to spend the rest of my life helping others and teaching others how to heal themselves, how to get out of that very heavy, depressive, anxious mindset, and how to transform how they feel, how to transform their thoughts, how to transform their whole belief systems, their moods, their whole personality, and their whole reality, obviously. So yeah, that's what I do.
That's amazing. I loved reading your biography or just your short bio that you sent. So, what is it that made you like? What was that point, that pivotal point, where you decided, okay, one thing is experiencing challenging mental situation or anything in life. The other thing is turning that into something that could help others. That's a big leap. What made you take that leap?
Well, realizing that we're all one and that we're all connected, we're all one energy, and seeing myself in others and seeing them in myself is something that made me very aware. I feel like I've always been very intuitive of how others feel. Like I can almost sense their emotions, their intentions, how they I can feel their heart. So I always felt like there's a connection between everybody's heart, and I just wanted to help people. And it gives you so much joy in your own life and so much fulfillment when you see another person succeed, or you see them just feel better. You do anything for another person, you automatically fulfill yourself and them. So it's great. It feels great.
Robert just mentioned it, that we were probably both watching Tony Robbins today. He said something very interesting. I'm sure you're aware of who Tony Robbins is. Yeah, some people don't know who he is, which is fine. So he said, hero is another, I think in Latin, it means, basically, if you go to the Latin version of the word, it means servant, which is, a hero is actually somebody who serves other people. And I thought that was so fascinating, because that was a connection I would have never made. But when you think about what a hero does, is usually somebody is designated hero who forgot about him or herself, jumped into a situation to save somebody, which is serving others, right? So I always think about when we pull ourselves by our ears out of, or our neck out of a situation that was detrimental to our emotional, mental, or whatever health, and we save ourselves, we become our own hero, and then we go on our own journey to becoming more and more of a hero for ourselves. What that really means is by actually serving ourselves and our highest good, and connecting more to our soul and our emotions and our intuition, we then are able to at the same time connect to other people. But we open up for that understanding, as you just said, that we're all one and we're all here as a unity. And if somebody else is suffering, it's my suffering too. Otherwise, we would be disconnected. It's interesting, because the notion of being disconnected inherently means you can't be disconnected for something you're not connected to. So we are connected. So when somebody feels disconnected or detached or repressed or depressed, it's actually just the opposite of what is actually already set in place as a default. And so it's just the feeling of, wait a minute, I'm disconnected from my natural state of being, which is connected to nature, humanity, animals, everything around me, the air, the elements. And I thought that was beautiful, and it just reminded, what you were saying reminded me of that, and I can feel that in you. I really can.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. I feel like if we feel any sort of negative emotions, it's because we're not connected to who we truly are on the inside, and we go too much into our heads, too much into our thoughts, and our ego starts to operate our whole life. It starts to take over as a protective mechanism, because the ego always thinks there's something to be afraid of. Its main job is to protect you. So what it does is you keep those anxious thoughts of, what if I do this? This is going to happen. This is going to go wrong. They're not going to like me. This is going to fail, or something like that. But when you truly just give yourself a moment, disconnect from those thoughts and connect to your heart, and you you just feel that peaceful emptiness kind of fill you, but it's like an awareness that never leaves, and it's connecting all of us, and you can really feel that heart, and it's so peaceful. Yeah, and that's who we truly are on the inside, our heart, not the mind. So I feel like, yeah, I completely agree. It's a great statement.
Where are you in the States? You're in Miami, right?
Yeah, I'm in Miami right now. I've been here for almost 10 years now, but I've been traveling all around the States and a little bit outside of the country. So, yeah.
Cool. So when did you come here? When did you come to the States?
When I was 12 years old, I came here. My mom was living here, so she wanted me to come here to stay with her. And I came here, and I didn't know English, so it was very weird. I didn't know anyone. It was like a very big cultural shock for me. I lived in Philadelphia for a few years, and then when I was 18, I moved to Miami, and I'm still here.
No, it's amazing. I love Florida in general and Miami, and it's culturally speaking, it's so diverse and so colorful in terms of
oh, definitely. You can never, yeah, it's never a dull moment around here.
Yep.
No.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, your optics fit right in. I feel like there's just such a lot of beauty in Miami as well, just feminine beauty, and it's something that is really appreciated. And I think culturally, it's very much like in the forefront of Miami. I always envision kind of like beautiful women walking around everywhere.
Yeah, there are some streets that look exactly like that.
Yeah. That's very well. I feel connected to you in terms of your Russian heritage as well, because my father was born in Russia, so we have that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't speak Russian, sadly, so
that's
have to take some lessons from
I
you.
speak English, so we can still communicate.
Yeah. How would you like to go about today with the exercise that you want to show or you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, so I just want to connect with the universe, with source, and let whatever comes through just come through. My intention is to make everyone feel more relaxed, more connected with their heart, with who they truly are, and to feel more powerful, more empowered, and calm. But let's see what happens.
Perfect. Anybody that wants to connect to Nickol, it was just shown in the link below, which is her Instagram handle, and it's conscious _ psychologist 8, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to connect to you, please go to her Instagram channel, and if you can't find it, go to mine, and then you'll find hers, because I linked it in my story. But I'm sure we'll put it in the description as well. So just wanted to mention that really quickly. So if you like, shall we start?
Yeah, let's start. So
Nickol, could you lower your camera just a little bit? Your head is getting chopped off just a bit there.
Lower it, even raise it?
A little bit more. It's in the right direction. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Perfectly centered. You look great.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah, let's start by closing our eyes and taking a deep, deep breath. And start becoming aware of your body. Take a comfortable position. Relax your muscles. And just feel what it feels like to be in your body. Feel what it feels like to sit, what your skin feels like, the sounds around you. And keep settling in. And now start becoming aware of the space around your body. So not the physical body, but go outside. Pretend like everything around you, all the space, is also you, just like the body is. And feel what it feels like to be that space. Just like you felt what it felt like to be in your body. What would it feel like to be everything? Everyone, every tree, every beach, every ocean. This room that you're in. Can you feel it? Can you sense it? Can you become aware of it? Notice how it also has its own sounds, its own vibrations, just like your body. And feel what it would be like if you actually did not identify with your body, but identified with everything, with whole existence, with consciousness. Just feel what it would feel like to be one with everything. No separation. And just rest in that space. And from that space, start observing the body. So start observing the person that you think that you are. Start noticing the thoughts. And notice how they always change, but you stay the same. Every thought comes and goes. In 1 second it can be positive and self-loving, and the other second it could be negative. So it doesn't mean that they're true. You don't have to identify with them. Just notice how they come and they go. And notice that space right in between the thoughts that you have. So that second of empty space without any thoughts, where you just feel, where you just exist. And feel what it feels like. And try to make that space a little bit longer. To quiet the mind, let go of the thoughts, and just be. Become aware of awareness. Notice the silence. Notice how your body, even though you're not doing anything, it keeps being alive, and you just are. Notice how you don't have to think about taking a breath. It's like it's done for you. Notice how you don't have to keep your heart beating. You just exist. You're not doing anything. All you have to do is just be. And start becoming aware of your heart space. Notice what it feels like. Are you feeling a little worried? Are you feeling calm? Are you excited about something? And start imagining that your heart space is a very, very bright green light. And imagine it opening and receiving the light from the universe. Like it's being filled with pure light and love. And see if you can notice any difference between how you felt before and how you feel now. And keep imagining your heart space being filled with more love, with peace, with safety. A space where there are no thoughts and you just are. You are just alive, you are just being. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be anywhere. All there is just this moment. Let go of the past, let go of the future. And notice that your whole life, there has only been this moment. It has only been now. And become more aware of this moment. Bring all your energy back into this moment. All your thoughts from the past, all your thoughts about the future, all the plans that you have, all the overthinking you do about the past. Let it all go and be here. And notice how you feel like your heart is being filled with energy. Like there is universal love that's filling it. And that it's always there for you. And all you have to do is just notice it. Just like your breath or your heartbeat. It's always there. Most of the time we don't notice it because it's just so obvious that we overlook it. Especially when we start thinking, when we cover up the feeling with the thoughts. Sometimes we just don't feel the heart. So feel your heart right now. Feel how you are always supported. How you are always safe. Because all there is just you. You are energy. You are the universe. You are the higher self. You are every other person in the world. Feel how safe that feels. Like there can never be anything that can go wrong. There is nothing that can ever hurt you. There is nothing to ever be afraid of. Because all there is just you. And keep imagining your heart opening and being filled with light. And if you sense any darkness, Imagine you turning into light. And notice this awareness, this energy that you are right now, that's allowing you to hear my voice, it's allowing you to breathe, to be conscious of your life, be conscious of everybody else, to create what you want. See that energy in every other person in the world. Feel the connection between everything and yourself. See this light in every other person. See that they have the heart, they have those feelings just like you do. See yourselves in them. And see them in yourself. And just like you filled your own heart with love and with peace, see that happen for everybody in the world. Treat them like you would treat yourself. See if you can feel that love that you feel for them as equally as you do for yourself. Just take a few moments in this space. Remember who you really are. Remember that you are always guided, always supported. You are one with this amazing creation. You are the energy. There is source that's flowing through you right now. And remember that you can always come back to this understanding, to this feeling. Whenever you're feeling stressed or worried in your life, just remember you are not the person, you are not the body, you are not the thoughts. You are energy, you are source, you are everything. You are the universe. There is no separation at all. You are infinitely loved, infinitely supported. Worthy of every dream that you have. Anything that you want to create. Because you are on this earth to create, to be who you want to be. Don't let your thoughts take over your life. Remember that you're not the thoughts, you are the heart. You are the consciousness, you are the awareness. You are the light. And your powers are infinite. And you can make this world as loving, as caring, as safe as you want it to be. Feel that with your whole heart. And if any intentions come up right now as you're doing this exercise, if something sparked your excitement, understand that it's your higher self guiding you to the next step. And it's always guiding you. All you have to do is be and breathe. Let go of the thoughts and connect with who you are. The mind is just a program that's been running your whole life. And it's filled with so many negative beliefs, negative thoughts that are not even true, but you believe them because you think that's who you are. But you're not. Now imagine your whole body being filled with light, just like you did with the heart. And imagine the whole universe being filled with light. And like your body is almost disappearing into the universe. Like the light becomes one. What does that feel like in your heart? Does it feel like expansion? And take a few moments there. Let yourself feel connected, let yourself be one with everything. It's so easy to fall back into separation. It's so easy to think we are the person and to forget our own power, our own nature, our own hearts. And it's so easy to forget that everybody is just like you. It's so easy to forget about their heart. And take a few more moments in this oneness and this awareness. Just be aware, just be. Don't think. Just be and breathe. And be aware. Another deep breath. And start coming back into your body. Start feeling the sensation, the sound, the energy. But at the same time, stay connected with that feeling of oneness, of that feeling of wholeness, where you are not separate. Try to almost be aware of both at the same time. You can take a few more deep breaths, and when you are ready, you can open your eyes.
Hi.
Hi, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling really creative. It got me into really activated my creativity.
Sorry.
It's funny. How does it make you feel?
Makes me feel very great and very calm. And it makes me feel whole and safe. It makes me feel at at peace and like I'm one with every person. And it makes me care so much about others at the same time. And it fills my whole heart with love, and just it brings me a lot of joy.
It's so fascinating. I was just thinking, what if when we go into that safe place, that's actually a sacred place with ourselves, what if that's actually what is connecting us to our true nature, and why everybody experiences something else when you go into that place? It's not like some people are like, oh well, when you meditate, this is how you're supposed to feel. But if it connects us to our true nature, then we inherently all feel differently when we go to that place.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, we completely do. Yeah, we all have our unique blueprints in how we feel, but I feel like at the deepest level, it should feel pretty much like stillness and awareness. It feels pretty the same, like what I've noticed in my clients or like the people that I meditated with, that when you go, like when you let your heart lead and when you go into that state of flow, it almost feels like the same energy around the whole room. It feels like everybody's feeling exactly what you're feeling. So I feel like it's very interesting in that way.
So you help people understand how to do this with themselves, like at home or wherever they are, just basically understand how to, regardless of at home, obviously, but how to get into this place by yourself is probably the most valuable, because right?
Well, the easiest way is close your eyes and stop thinking and just become aware of awareness. So as soon as you start noticing yourself thinking, just acknowledge it, become aware of it, and choose to let the thoughts go and come back into that empty space, like that space right between the thoughts, where it just feels like stillness, like where it feels like it's empty, it's calm, there's nothing, there's no thoughts, there's just you and this moment and nothing else. So try to stay as long as you can in that moment, and it will get easier with times. At first, of course, your mind will be running, it will be a little challenging, but the more you practice, the more it will help you and the easier it will become. And the more you will see yourself transform and let go of the mind.
I was going to check and see if there's anybody who has questions right now on YouTube, but if anybody watching has any questions, go to YouTube and ask any questions you might have to Nickol or myself, if you like. What is a typical process for what somebody would contact you? Is it a specific mental challenge, or is it just overall well-being, the wish, the want to become more aware? What is the typical request that you get?
Well, for me, mostly the people that I work with are the ones that are going through something very heavy and hard emotionally. But I have worked with people who just want to either get support in work or manifest something into the reality. So I have worked with that, but most of the time I focus on emotional transformation, emotional release, and overcoming the thoughts, overcoming the patterns. I practice a little bit of Reiki and I do a little bit of coaching, but my main thing is meditation. That's how I do it.
Is it more one-on-one, or do you also work with groups?
I have guided group meditations a couple of times online when COVID started, but most of the time I just work one-on-one. I feel like it's the most beneficial because then you can really target everybody's specific problems, because we all have our own things. Like maybe we have things in common, like we feel anxious or depressed or some things, but usually it's very, very specific. And you can really go even into your childhood and pick up on certain things that you need to release, that you need to let go of, because this meditation that we do today is very, very general. Like it's completely for everyone. Everybody can do it. So, and it is very helpful, but it's not as helpful as it would be if you worked on your own specific problems that are specific to your life.
So Nickol, let me jump in, Sophia, if I can. I just wanted to ask her a quick question about when you do the specifics, Nickol, when you're looking at somebody very specifically, how do you come up with the languaging for the meditation? You just kind of flow through it, or is it something that's premeditated for you?
It's really both. So usually we do talk about what the person wants to achieve, what's going on with them, but it's also intuitive. Like when I talk to a person, or like when I do Reiki on them, or when I just feel their energy, I can really tell what they need, like what chakras they need alignment in, what energies they need to let go of, what energy to bring in. But a lot of the times, all I do is I connect to my higher self and their higher self, and to the energy of love and universal love. And that intention to heal the other person, I feel is like it opens their heart to me, and that's how I can receive information, like what exactly I need to do, what I need to say to help them. Like the intention is everything. If your intention is to give love and to help, then their heart will feel that, and they will receive, and they will transform, and they will heal.
Yeah, I do the same thing, and it's phenomenally how powerful it is when you're just giving them that love energy, just loving on them. And because I think people have a deficit of that, especially in today's society. It's like we're not feeling the love out there. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of discord, there's a lot of hatred. Even we go that far, and we're missing that. But when you bring that energy, and it's like, boy, they can heal themselves really quickly, both emotionally and physically.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I even had some people tell me that they never even felt that kind of love before, which makes me very sad. Yeah. But it's amazing to see how most people, they don't have access to that feeling of love towards self or towards others. Yeah.
Yes, that, and they're not taught it either. I mean, where would we learn it from, right? We don't learn it in school. We're not going to learn it as adults unless we go to a seminar or something and pick it up. That's where I got a lot of it. But you don't learn it normally. So somebody like you coming along brings a very big value to society, because we really do need that. Tell me about the people, the typical clients that you work with. And Sophia, I don't mean to hog the conversation here. You certainly jump in anytime you want to. But I want to know, from Nickol's perspective, who are the typical kind of people that you work with?
Well, most of the people I work with are actually a lot older than I am. So they are your age, which is very interesting, that I never have clients who are my age. And most of them are very, very like a basic person that you would think about, like has a job that's 20 years old, not very happy about it, not very connected with who they are, not very... I think a lot of the clients that I have, they let their mind run their whole life rather than just feeling with their emotions, feeling with their heart. I feel like a lot of people are disconnected completely from their heart, and they don't even realize how they feel, or if it's just the thought or it's their emotions. They don't let themselves feel. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the results after you get them reconnected, because it is common. We're on our devices, on our computers all day. We don't connect as much as we used to, and we're biologically wired to connect to other human beings. And we think we have all these communication tools around us, but we're alone. Zoom is not connection, right? FaceTime is not connection. Sending somebody an email is not connection. Hugging someone is connection. Talking to them eyeball to eyeball is connection. So tell me a little bit about your experience of when you do get them reconnected, what they experience in their lives.
Well, what I mean by reconnection is not reconnected to other people, but reconnected to their own heart and how they feel, what they really want. Because like, imagine if you never had to think about any decision in your life, ever. Like, your intuition is always there. The moment when there's a decision to be made, your heart is first to feel, and then you start thinking. So the decisions that we mostly make are the ones that we overthink and rationalize with our mind. But imagine if there was no thoughts, you're always connected, you're always, because you are really never really disconnected. You only cover it up with your thoughts. So imagine if the thoughts were gone and you just led from your heart. Every decision you were made, like it was like that on a second, and you never had to second guess yourself, and it would only bring you exactly where you want to be. So that's what it feels like to be in that state. Like you just feel like it flows rather than you are controlling your life. You feel like life flows through you, and it's always exactly what you want. It's very different feeling than what most people, how they operate their day-to-day lives.
It's kind of the opposite. Sorry, Robert.
No, I was just going to say, Sophia, you did a wonderful job of finding Nickol. She's amazing, and she's so wise for her age. It's incredible to hear her say these things, because it's like, it is so true. It's absolutely true. We're not reconnected to ourselves, and when we do that, boy, life does change. So congratulations. Good job, Sophia. Good pick.
Yes, I agree. Nickol, I have a provocative question. Would you say that your generation, do you sense your do you feel, out of your perspective, that your generation is more connected to older generations, to themselves? Like
No, I don't think so. I feel like our generation is just I mean, we're completely different. The way that we were raised is just we're always technology. Like when I talk to my mom, sometimes it's even hard to understand her because we're so different. Yes.
That's fascinating. I had a thought. I remember I posted something actually yesterday when I was posting something of you. I think it was on Instagram. Dalai Lama said, if every 8-year-old in the world taught meditation, we will eliminate violence from the world within one generation. Do you think that's true?
I think we can eliminate it within 1 second if we all connect to our hearts and realize that we're all one.
You're definitely ambitious.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. Let's connect. You know, that's a big promise. I love that one. I could live with that.
It's like, what? Why wait a generation?
That's right.
It's really possible if we all came to this understanding and to this feeling of oneness and to feeling our hearts. I feel like it's really possible. And I feel like that's where we are headed. Just take some time.
A few interviews ago, I was interviewing a man called Lynn. Very fascinating interview. And he said, a lot of us heal really fast. It's the integration process. And I believe that this practice, this exercise that you did with us today, the meditation, is probably a powerful tool to help in that process. Because one thing is to have a realization, to have a shift, and to understand. Sometimes it's just having that one understanding that, connecting the dots or having a realization or something comes up from subconscious. The question is, how do I implement that? How do I integrate that into my life and then make that transition from old behavior to new behavior? And meditation for me has a very activating aspect or side to it. I always feel highly activated when I go through processes like this, especially if they're guided. I love guided meditations. For some reason, it's easier to fall back if it's guided because I'm not doing the actual, I'm not doing the thinking work. You're kind of like, you're taking over the mind part of it and you're guiding me through, and I can just sense, I can just feel, I can just let go more than I can if I'm guiding myself through meditation. Strange. I find it, but I think everybody's different.
Yeah, and there are also different types of meditation depending on what you want to achieve, what your goal is. If it is to reconnect, I would honestly, if it's to connect to your heart, I would just suggest to stay in that empty space and not even do guided meditation, but just completely let it go, completely stop thoughts, stop thinking, stop listening, just become aware, and that's it. Because it's always there. All you have to do is let go of the mind, and then you will just automatically drop into your heart and start feeling.
I have another question regarding Find Your Mentor. And basically, what would you as a mentor like to see in a platform for mentors that would support you? What is it that what would you like to see fulfilled to make your life easier and be able to coach more people or to reach more people? What is it that you would like to?
Well, this is a great example. This opportunity to be here is exactly what I want to see more of. I want us to collaborate more and invite each other into our lives, like let into our spaces. I feel like it's very helpful if we just work together. That's all we have to do, not individually, but work together.
We should go live on Instagram.
Yeah, let's do it.
That would be fun, and actually do this more often, and just do a meditation, and then just invite people in to introduce this to more people. And
Yeah,
we could do it on both of our channels, and on the Find Your Mentor channel. That would be fun to actually do this on a regular basis, or whenever we're just feeling like it, when we have the time. I'd love to do that with you.
yeah, that would be great. And we can actually ask people what exactly they want to focus on, so we can have a direction rather than being so general. We can pick something specific and work on it. Yeah, that would be great.
It's so easy with these tools. That would be fun. Let's talk about that.
Okay. So,
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share in terms of your work? Like, is there any
no, just like you said, feel free to contact me. It's Conscious Psychologist 8, and if you want to work individually, just contact me. That's it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Nickol, for being here today. I really love that we have finally had the opportunity to meet each other as well in this context, especially. And I think, yeah, we can do some fun things on Instagram, and who knows where this will lead.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's been a great time. It's my first time actually being live with somebody and collaborating on something like this. So it's a great experience, and thank you for
Oh, I
inviting
would
me.
have never known it was your first time. You're like a pro here. You're doing such a good job. Oh my.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back on, and we can look at other projects that we can do as well, because I think you've got an amazing gift, and there are a lot of people who can benefit by what you have to offer. So thank you so much, Nickol. I really appreciate it. It's great meeting you, and we'll be in touch. I've got your email, I've got your Instagram, so we'll be in touch going forward.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night, Nickol.
Wow, that was cool, huh?
Yeah, Nickol is amazing. I had a feeling from the beginning that would be very beneficial and exciting, and it's so wonderful. I feel the same way that Nickol does. It's almost like it gives me energy to the connection aspect, to the communication, the interaction. It's like energizing and inspiring to me. I love it when I see people connecting. That's why I became probably a certified event manager at one point, because I'm like, I want to create like real live events, and I love it when I can figure out like what is the right setting and who comes together and why, and how do you create that safe space from beginning to end as a whole experience, but what do you want to generate in that whole experience for the people as an added value. And that is fascinating. What happens is probably that collective, like people tuning in a certain setting, and energies connecting, and that becoming something so powerful. Remember in California when I think it was the second day we were in Anaheim, and everybody was so, you could feel the energy. So for those who don't know about it, it was a 2-day event, and people were going onto stage. There were a lot of speakers, and there were about, I don't know, plus minus probably 400 to 500 people in all. But it was just the energy kept on building and building and building. On the second day, literally everybody was going up to random people and just hugging them, saying, "I love you." It was like, wow. And it was just this, it was more, you were more feeling and sensing than anything else. And it was this, that was the energy build. And it was so loving and so appreciative and so all encompassing, integrative. It's fascinating.
You know, Nicole brought up something interesting I thought was fascinating, that she works with clients. I feel old. She says, of your age, you know, 'cause she's so young. But it's interesting that kids her age or people her age, young adults, don't work with her as much. And I was kind of surprised by that. I thought they would work with her. Typically, the older generation doesn't really look to the younger generations, you know, for assistance or help. But that's kind of interesting.
Yes, I think that's interesting too. I was actually watching a video. I've watched it twice from this woman called Lada Duncheva. I would love to have her on. She's in astrology, and she's actually become quite known in her area of expertise. She was interviewing a couple who had this method with which they would test the frequencies and information field of different generations. And she went through the different generations, and then they ended up actually measuring. It wasn't just the frequency. There's another term for that. It was highly scientific, and they ended up at the alpha generation and saying that they hold the key to the future right now, but that all of the generations leading up have their own, let's say, specific skill set, and it's important that we all work together. But understanding that each generation has this certain, let's say, this set of skills that is immensely important in the whole, let's say, the whole spectrum of skill sets. But each generation has its own set of skills, and it's not just one generation, it's all of us coming together. And so that's what I think what you're kind of describing is, you know, Nickol has her generation has specific skill sets. And then, you know, our generations have their own. I don't know. I think every one of us can describe it differently, but they were really going through the specifics of what the focus is of every generation. Some are just more heart connected, some are more mind connected, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's everything we're experiencing too. And this generation is really interesting because you're looking at, you know, a world that is not secure. You know, we talk about safe zones and safety, and it's like, we don't have that anymore. It's the weirdest thing. It's like everything is uncertain. You can look at, you know, even the monetary system. You can say, are we going to have a money system, you know, 6 months from now? Because it's being threatened, right? So all of that could change. Dollar bills you have in your wallet may or may not be there. Maybe digital currency 6 months, a year from now. You know, everything that we've come to rely on as quote unquote security is being threatened. So they have an interesting challenge. I mean, for our generation, it's really rough because we've never seen anything like this, and they might actually thrive on the other side of it because of it. It's like the generation that went through World War II, right? They had it really, really hard, and then, you know, by the time the 50s came along, that generation had really put it together in family values and morals, and, you know, the 50s were really thriving for them. And, you know, we kind of got stronger and stronger through the years, and now we've got more challenges now. So it'll be interesting to see 30 years from this point to see how this has affected them.
I think you might have hit the nail on the head there, right there, because the main thing I see with, I'm just looking at my son, is he has something built into him. He's highly secure within himself. Where he does need support is that he's allowed to speak. He's allowed to have that voice. If he's allowed to have that voice, he's very secure. I mean, and I see kids his age are very similar to him. It's almost like they have something built into them where they are their own security system. What they do need, though, is to be strengthened by us grown-ups in terms of, you're allowed to speak up, you're allowed to have a voice, you have to have a voice. It's important for you to, I hear you, I see you, and give that space for them to understand there is a place here for them and they are needed. And then they can start activating, because I feel like they're coming here with that their sense of self is so much stronger than I ever had when I was young. I didn't even think in terms of anything that had to do with, let's say, anything spiritual, anything on the soul level. I didn't even know what that was. My son is talking about things that I started to discover when I was 25. I didn't even know what the word manifestation actually meant until I was over 30.
That was last week, right?
I didn't even know. If somebody would have asked me what is manifestation, I'm like, I don't know. I would have invented something, but I actually didn't know what it meant. And he already knows these things. And he goes to YouTube to learn how to, he has this tin foil thing he's doing now on a table where he has these little tin foil things he's wrapping up into little balls. And he's trying to, with his energy, he's trying to practice to move it without touching it. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, what is it called? There's this, I forgot the term, that is how, the terminology of what it's called, not kinesthetics. I forgot the
telekinesis.
Thank you.
Yep.
Right, the ability to move objects, right?
Yep.
And he's like, well, I saw a girl on TikTok talking about this, that she can actually move objects. I saw the video. This looked highly authentic. And he said it inspired me. I went to YouTube and I searched this ability or how to learn to do this. And I'm like, and that fascinates, like that, why does this interest you? And he said, this is a superpower. I want to learn how to do this. Imagine the other things I could do with this. I'm like, wow, like how there's an inherent interest for this. This is what I'm.
He'll never have to ask you to pass the salt again. He'll just go zip, and it'll come to him. Right? I love it. There's a practical side to it as well.
That's fascinating. I'm so fascinated because I'm like, this is just this teeny tiny thing. But if you think about a whole generation that is actually open to this, and I think this is what Lara Juncheva was saying with, and I need to share that video in our channels, but because it was
we need to extract the meditation out of the video, cut that out, and bring it as a tool that people can actually tune back in. I was having trouble a little bit with the sound because she was speaking so low, so some of it I'm going to have to adjust to get it back up a little bit. I was maxed out here as far as I could go. Happens a lot when people do meditations. They go into the meditation too and they stop speaking, right? So we'll clean that up and then we'll put that out as separate. We'll just put the meditation on the channel so people can have that as a tool to use.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before, I know that Matthew Britt is coming on as a speaker today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today, because did you follow everything of Tony Robbins today?
You know, I've seen that presentation so many times, like I can almost lip sync it. So yes, I did follow it. It was on. I was, doing other things, but yes, I know those stories and everything that he shared. Very much so.
Yes, because you yourself, you work with Tony directly. You know him personally, and you are also a certified Tony Robbins coach.
Yeah, I became a trainer with the organization. I went through all the training. I started in 1995 with an event that he used to do back then. He used to call Strategic Influence. It's just a one-day event. And, I got introduced to him in a bookstore. I picked up a cassette tape. That's good. Aging me, a cassette tape. The new kids are going, what's that? What's a cassette tape? Mom, what's a cassette tape? And I was driving with some friends through Virginia. It was like 2 a.m. and I was falling asleep at the wheel. And I'm like, I'm going to drive us into the ditch. I need to do something. So I took the tape out and put it in. They're like, no, we don't want to hear your motivational tapes. But it was a Tony Robbins tape. And I put it in and we started listening to it. And the two people in the car with me, all of a sudden they perked up and they're listening to it. We got back to the hotel around, I think it was about 6 a.m. We're sitting in the hotel parking lot listening to the end of the second tape.
Yeah,
We're exhausted. We should be running upstairs to go get our room and go to sleep. And it's like, no, we're listening to the tape. So we went to sleep for a little while. Next morning I went to a bookstore and I said, where's your Tony Robbins section? And they showed me where the stuff was and I bought everything. One of each. I bought everything I could buy. And then I went through that, devoured it. Then I went through and called up the company and I said, I love all the tapes. I love the books. What else you got? And he's like, well, just so happens upstate New York, Tony Robbins will be doing an event via satellite. We didn't have Zoom back then, so it was actually via a regular satellite in a movie theater. And I said, sign me up. So I went. It was a one-day event. I think Tony kept us for 12 hours. It was amazing. I was like, this is great. Called him up again. What else you got? He said, well, Tony's coming back to that same theater, and he's doing UPW, Unleash the Power Within. And it's 4 days in a movie theater. Normally people go there for an hour and a half. We were in there for 4 days. It was quite amazing. And after that, I signed up for Master University, and I did all of that. And after I signed up, after I finished that, then I went for Trainer Academy, became a trainer, and have done the Firewalk 16 times now. So I've been through that training a lot. Changed my world very much so, and it allowed me to help so many others. When I was in Chicago, I worked for Tony Robbins, had a franchise there at the time, and I coached over 2,000 people in the space of 2 years, all face to face. So we're you're spending a lot of time in hotel lobbies coaching people, and got a lot of experience. And it burned me out completely, but the experience was invaluable. It was unbelievable that because I got to see people in every walk of life, having every kind of challenge, from suicide to financial issues to relationship to marriage. I can't tell you how many marriages I've saved, how many people I talked off the ledge for suicide. It was just a lot of great experience. After that, I moved to California, and I said, I loved all of that, but I need to focus it. I don't want to be doing all of it. So I focused what I was doing into specifically the business owners. Because business owners are great people. They're entrepreneurial crowd. They're wonderful people, but they've got issues that get in the way of their ultimate success. And if I could help them do that, I thought, man, that would be great. So I've been doing that. I've helped corporations, small corporations, individual business owners. The latest, it was like $250 million in income I've helped them generate, because I cleared out the stuff that was getting in the way. So it's been a fun journey through the world of coaching. I've been doing a lot of coaching. I don't do very much one-on-one anymore. I know people are like, well, can I hire you for one-on-one? I'm like, not really, because I don't really want to do that much of it. I prefer to coach groups, and certainly small organizations, small companies is where I spend my time doing things today. What other questions have you got? I'd be happy to answer whatever questions you have.
That's kind of like how we found to each other, which is the understanding of, first of all, the importance of even having a mentor and what that can do to your life. And that's what Tony Robbins talks about the whole time, and basically what your story is now too, is how he changed your life and how he helped you help others.
Yeah, I have a similar story that he was talking about today. He says, what's a seminar? When he was talking about going to the seminar with Jim Rohn. It's like, I had the same thing. I had never experienced anybody speaking on stage before. I'd never really seen that. And what really impacted me more than anything was I thought, how is this guy up there on stage hour after hour after hour, and I never see him look at notes? He's not reading a script. He's not doing anything. And I thought that was impossible. There's no way he could be doing that. He's got to have something in his ear. Someone's talking to him. There's got to be something. And since he was the only person that I ever saw speaking, I modeled that because I had no other, role model. That was my role model. So a lot of when I speak, it's very Tony Robbins-esque, as you would have seen if you had seen my presentation in Anaheim. It's very Tony Robbins. It's rah-rah and get up there and really inspire the audience. And, that really powerful to be able to speak without needing scripts, without having to, be much. I was talking to you earlier. I said, how long would it take you if I said, hey, let's get on, let's do an interview? And you're like, well, pretty much right away. You know what I mean? And I'm the same way. You give me, 10 minutes notice, I go and I'm on. I can deliver on pretty much any topic you ask me to deliver on. And that's really when you master your skills, the fear of public speaking and all the rest of this stuff disappears, because it's no longer a thing you do, it's who you are, right? And that's the difference.
Exactly. It's what you have, like, it's the training. And when we invest in ourselves through courses, training, mentorship, whatever it is, however we educate ourselves, that is something that is so invaluable. Remember, today he was mentioning how when you invest in yourself, and let's say money disappears, right?
Right.
And anything that you have acquired within yourself as in form of knowledge, accumulated knowledge abundance, is something that, let's say money disappears and we would have seashells as a payment option, right? You would be the one, and if you had accumulated enough knowledge to say you're an absolute expert in your area, and let's say money is turned into seashells, you would be the one with the most seashells in your area, because you just, whatever it is that you're paid with, you would be paid the most because that's aligned with you have, let's say you've expanded your knowledge base and you've become an absolute expert. And so the best investment we can always make is not in form of materialistic things that we buy, but within ourselves. That's something nobody can take away, but you always have with you. And it's something that I've always been hungry, and I've always had that sense of, at one point when I haven't been doing enough inner work, and that was something I was just thinking about with Nickol. I get frustrated because I feel like I'm becoming too superficial. I'm not, my soul becomes so hungry at one point. And I'm like, I have to take the next leap. I can just feel it. It's like you're like,
it's cycles, right? So there are times when we're hungry for the knowledge, and then there are times when you don't want it. You want implementation. You want to use the knowledge, right? So I kind of oscillate between those two things. And usually it's 3-4 months. I acquire knowledge. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. Now I want to go apply what I've learned and go do that. And then I get to a point where, okay, I need more. And I just go back and forth. But there's never a point where you stop learning. People are like, oh, you and I probably were the same in school. I can't wait to get out of school. I hate this. Learning is horrible. I hate learning. And then you realize when you get out in the real world, it's like you know nothing. School didn't prepare you for the real world, and you've got to keep learning. Right?
I felt that in school.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
It was how they were teaching that how they taught wasn't inspiring, and so it was.
Well, they're not inspired. It's a job. It's a 9-to-5 job for them, and it's a trap.
That you didn't ask for.
That they didn't ask for.
I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
I didn't want it. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I get that math and reading and writing and all these things, but the way it's done was so demotivational. I remember coming home and I felt depressed from school. I literally felt depressed.
Always. I was daydreaming all the time, and I never got better than a C in any class in high school. And I thought I was just a dumb guy. And really what it was is his brain's going so damn fast. It's like I'm 3 lessons ahead of where they would be, and they got to go slow because they got to keep up with the slowest kids in the class and all that. And I never got ahead in school because I was bored. And it would be really great if school were different, where you would look at every child and say, okay, well, how are you a visual learner, you're a kinesthetic learner, you're an auditory learner, give them the way that they learn best, and make them thrive and give them topics that they have an interest in. I mean, I was always self-taught. When I learned photography, for instance, I couldn't get into the photography club in school. So I took library instead. And I sat in the library and read the encyclopedia on how to shoot pictures and how to develop film. And I bought all the stuff. And by the end of the school year, I was further along than the kids who were actually in the photo club. Right? Wow. Self-taught. And then I became the head yearbook photographer in my final year of high school, never having taken a single class in photography. But I was developing film, photographing, and any lighting, any situation I was able to take photos. And then I went one step further, and I was actually developing color film. And it blew the teacher away who was in charge of that. So he's like, you got to show me what you did. How did you develop color film in our black and white darkroom? So I showed up. But that was all self-taught, right? So when you're that kind of person, and you're very similar to this, you're always hungry for knowledge, always hungry to take it to the next level. Everything that I do, it doesn't matter if it's this show, if it's another show, everything that I do, I take to the next level every time. It's like, okay, we're here today. Where are we going to be next week? What can I do to improve it next week? Boom, take it up a little bit. May not be a big jump, but it's a jump. It's never going to be the same. It's not going to be worse unless, a technical issue. It's not going to be worse. How do I take it to the next level? How do I make it better? How do I make it better? And as we keep asking those questions, those little tweaks, those little adjustments that you make along the way, 6 months out, you started here, you're here now. There's no comparison. It's like, so there's little steps you take every week, bam, or every day, and you get further and further ahead. A lot of people don't realize that. And they say, well, I've got 40 years experience on this job. And what it really is they have 1 year of experience 40 times over because they haven't done anything to learn or grow, right? So they're doing the same thing again and again and again, and they're not seeking to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important for mentors, coaches. What you're doing is you help them with something so important, which is what most mentors don't know how to, like, they don't know how to portray themselves. They don't understand how to close that gap really between, who they are and how they're perceived from the outside. And I think that's something where you're an absolute expert, where you see what you do and how you do it. And it's you can take an equal eye
You're making me
perspective.
blush again, Sophia. You keep doing this. Why do you do this all the time? I'm on camera now. I don't want to blush on camera.
Well, we can absolutely portray your skills, because that's something that, there's a lot of mentors that are, watching and like, well, that's something that you're an expert on, and we can really.
Well, the key is very simple, right? So it's explained. Dan Kennedy always explains it: market to message match, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's market, message, media is the triad that he shows us. But it really is, I'm vibrating with the answers. Here are the answers that I have. So my vibration is, here are the answers, here's the knowledge, here's the skill set. And what I'm doing is I'm going to attract the people with the questions. And when you can recognize that that's how it really works, it's like, oh, well, that makes a whole lot of sense. So how do I let people know I have the answers?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it right now. You're letting people know what answers you have. I'm doing it right now. I'm letting people know what answers I have. People who are watching this who have the questions that they feel I can answer, they're going to contact me, or they're going to say, hey, you seem to have answers. I've got these questions. You have the answers. Let's talk, right? It is really that simple. People just think it's so complicated. Marketing's so complex. And, what you do with social media on the outside looks very complex, but you know what to do, where you're not spending hours and days and weeks trying to figure it out. You want to promote this event? Bam, 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 it's done. And I look and it's like, there's Sophia there's Sophia there, she's posting here, posting. It's like, and it just comes in like an avalanche. It's everywhere. So some skills we're really good at, and we don't have to think about it because we understand the theory behind it, right? And this is the same thing when you want to be a mentor and promote, right?
Well, we have worked for that. I mean, I don't know how many, I've gone through a lot of years. God, I'm having a problem with talking today. I've schooled myself throughout the years in becoming better and better and better. And I've taken courses from graphic designers, from learning how they do it, gone to the most successful companies, looked at their strategies, and just always up-leveled my game to the point where now I can talk to graphic designers. Most graphic designers, I could tell them what to do. Now, because this is an area that I am highly passionate for, but I also believe it really has to do with two things: psychology and aesthetics.
Right.
And that is something, if there's a lot of graphic designers that don't understand this, and for whatever reason, they need guidance with this topic. And when I work with graphic designers, often they get really frustrated because I'm like, this is not about your taste. This is about the client. Yeah. We need to portray what the client, how do we make the client look their best, which is what we're going to do with Find Your Mentor, is how do we give the mentor the best possible, like the web profile, make the mentor look his or her best. It's not about us, it's about them. And it's not about the graphic designer's taste. It's about what will help the mentor stand out in the best possible way, in terms of present representation and aesthetics and intuitive usability. I'm not sure if that's a word. Anyways,
I think I know what you're getting at. I think I know where you're headed.
We're getting lost. I think we have Matthew Britt here. Before I get even more lost.
Oh no, Matthew's really going to rock the house now. I'm telling you, this is we're going to up-level this show just a little bit with Matthew on here.
For sure, and it's such an amazing topic. I can't I couldn't be more excited to.
Are we going to Canada now? Is that where we're headed?
Canada?
Yeah.
Well, we can ask them.
That's where Matthew is. We're going to Canada. There we go.
Yeah. Hi, friends. Good to see you both.
Good to see you, Matthew. Great to have you on board.
Oh, great to be here. Feeling awesome.
So
Looking
Matthew
forward
is with
to-
Food Forest Abundance, right? He's one of I think the top sales guy there, or the promotions manager, or however you want to put it. He does a lot. He wears many hats. Sometimes he wears them backwards, like you see him there.
Yeah.
So yeah, he works with Jim Gale. A lot of people know who Jim Gale is, and they're doing a great job. They're making some big waves for a lot of people. Sophia is really interested in this topic today. She really can't wait to have you on board and let you take the floor here and tell us all about what it is you're doing and what your vision is for the future. So I'm going to let you take it away, my friend.
Well, thank you, Robert. Thank you, Sophia. Really appreciate you guys bringing me on here this evening. It's an extreme pleasure to be able to join you on your show. And yes, I am with Food Forest Abundance and the Freedom Farm Academy. And what we're doing, and I'm extremely grateful to be a part of this, is really working to build out a decentralized yet localized food supply without the poisons that are currently in our system of food production, and really get this back to producing on the local level by mimicking nature, working in harmony with nature, and doing it in a way that's good for everybody and really capitalizes on the abundance that nature already provides for all of us. Jim has an excellent statement. I don't know if he's actually the first one to say it or if he heard it somewhere, but I love it, so I'm going to say it too. You can count the seeds in an apple, but you cannot count the number of apples in a seed. And nature has a funny way of working like that, except unfortunately for our society over the past few centuries, we've really been focused on this industrialized farming system that has done a lot of damage overall, because when you actually sit back and think about how that system operates, they're fighting nature at every turn. And that's the same with most people in their backyard garden. They set it up in a scenario where their soil is exposed. They've got these monoculture rows or systems of food production. And when you think about the industrial farm, for example, if you have all of the same crop and one of them gets sick, it's no wonder it's able to move throughout that whole crop and cause severe damage. But when you work with the permaculture food forest and you mimic nature and you look at nature just in general, you don't see one species of plant and that's all in a certain area. You'll have a very diverse ecosystem. Now, you might get a section of mangroves or pine trees that grow in a certain area, but when you dig into that, there are other things that are there. It's not just that one crop, whereas our farming systems today, and it's nobody's fault. It's just the direction that everything started to go, especially post World War II, where we started introducing all of these repurposed chemicals to help increase yield on farms and also decrease crop loss. It's put us in a scenario where we now have serious issues with our soil. Our yields are dependent on chemical inputs. Farmers are stuck in a perpetual system to really manage the debt that many of them are in, unfortunately, at this point. We have genetically modified crops in order to withstand the poisons. And it's broken and people are sick, and we're going to see all of this coming to a head, I think, over the next few years as our food system crumbles. We've already experienced certain things go missing on store shelves, right, during the pandemic, and we've had some more talk of supply chain breakdown, right? How many livestock and animals have had to have been put down, over the past few years for who knows why. Just all of these things are culminating in a snowball effect where next on the docket is, oh, we've got this climate change issue. And in order for us to fight back on climate change, we're restricting your nitrogen fertilizer, for example. Well, what's that going to do to all these farmers who have quotas to hit, a certain yield to produce basically on a year-to-year basis, and they're reliant on this chemical to be able to have that be a reality for them, and now they can no longer use it. And it's just all of these things are coming to a head, so to speak, and it's going to put us in a very precarious situation, especially here in the West, where we've really become used to having everything we want at any time in any grocery store. And unfortunately, people are going to be in for a big surprise if they don't start thinking about, how can I be not only a consumer, but a prosumer? And I think that's a very important word to think about today, because most of us don't produce really anything for what we consume ourselves. It's all from somewhere else. It's all centralized in another system, and it's put us again in a scenario where we're dependent on others in order to have the lifestyle that we're hoping to have. And it's been very good for very long, and people better start thinking about, how can we be prepared for if it's not so good? And hopefully food forest abundance can play a big role in that by providing people simple solutions that they can implement into their lives very quickly. We provide people with opportunity to learn about what permaculture is and what a food forest is and what value it can provide for them and their family and their community. We're working not only with the suburban backyard, but schools and churches and developers and corporate campuses and old, reclaiming farmland. There's so much wasted space at this moment. And why isn't it all producing food, especially in a food supply chain breakdown? I think it's going to become very apparent that we need to use our resources wisely, and this is a way to do so. And then to stack just a couple of things on top of this while we're talking about it is, if you think about some of the core things that people in our media are focused on and our governments are focused on, we've got climate change, we've got pandemics, we've got food supply issues. All three of those things can be positively impacted by just helping more people grow food, working with nature, right? If we realize that pandemics have everything to do with an unhealthy population, and to speak to that, you can look at the United States of America, who's got roughly, it's a very small percentage of the world population lives in the United States, yet you had a quarter of the deaths in the world. Just speaks to how unhealthy overall the population of the United States of America is, and also how the system was kind of rigged against you. Or if you believe the climate change narrative, we've got a scenario there where currently our food comes from hundreds or thousands of miles away from where we live. Well, if we're trying to mitigate the impact on the climate because of the fossil fuels that we're burning, wouldn't it make sense if Mr. City official or government official or governor or whatever started saying, well, let's encourage our people to grow food and produce as much as we can right around us, so we can reduce the exhaust and the exporting of the food, or the importing of the food, I guess. And then at the same time, it carbon offsets, right? It sequesters carbon by putting plants and trees and things into the ground. And with all of these things that are going on here, this solution really is a solution to three of the biggest talking points in our media today. So our question is, how do we get more people talking about a real simple solution that everybody can take action on? And the fascinating thing is, in time, the costs of all this stuff can be almost driven to near zero. Right? If we go back to the statement I made earlier about you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but not the number of apples in a seed. Well, right there, that abundance is now being able to pass to everybody around. You can start unifying community around doing installation. all that kind of stuff. So you can drive the cost of food production systems down significantly. So anyways, that's a little bit about food forest abundance and some of our philosophy on where we're hoping to inspire the masses as far as the adoption of growing food, whatever they can for themselves. And thank you for giving me a chance to share some of that.
Well, you're touching on some good stuff here, Matthew, because Sophia and I were talking about this the other day. I was in the grocery store and I took a picture of the egg refrigerator and it's completely empty. And everyone's freaking out now. It's like, there are no eggs, there are no eggs, there are no eggs. And everyone in our community who has little farms and they have chickens in the backyard, they're like, no problem, got it handled. It's one example of what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, very much so. I think we're going to see a lot of chickens walking around with Louis Vuitton handbags here pretty soon. The price of these eggs are going, right?
I know.
It's unbelievable how expensive these things are coming. And we had no experience with chickens in the past. My wife and I now have 6 hens, and they're laying a ton of eggs. You know, they're 4 to 6 a day, even through the winter, because we let them outside. They get lots of daylight. And between the 4 of us in our family, we definitely have an abundance of eggs at this point. Just
beware of the roosters. They don't like you.
Yeah. Well, we didn't invest in roosters just for that reason.
I was coming from Germany to the United States. I wasn't thinking a lot about what would the differences be. I'm American, left America when I was 9, came back last year in August. I came to the Adirondacks. Feels very healthy, very vital. The nature here really it pulls you in and it gives you a sense of protection and safety and just ground, like healthy earth. But what I noticed is I can almost get no healthy food apart from in the time where my mom, she does plant her own food, what she harvested, which wasn't a lot because it was more. She didn't have a lot of time to plant a lot. And anyway, and there's just so much that I guess, just so much focus she put into that. What I'm getting at is if I want to go buy healthy food, I need to drive about 40 minutes to one of the bigger cities. And then I'll find an organic store with real organic food or a Whole Foods where I can get specific ingredients that I can't get here in the villages or the smaller towns because it's not accessible. And I'm living in one of the healthiest places in the United States. I'm shocked. My nutrition has gone. The value of my nutrition has drastically dropped since I came to the States compared to Germany, where in every village there's a little farm shop and you can buy, there's organic stores everywhere. Like farm food is accessible, meat, vegetables, eggs is accessible everywhere from farmers. Little farmer trucks will be driving through the cities and honking, and everybody knows, oh, that's a local farmer. You could just jump down out of your house and they're stopping at the corner, ringing their bells, and you can see the little farm lady with her husband sitting on her potatoes and handing you paper bags with fresh vegetables. And like, what is going on in the States? This is scary, and health is a huge issue. And I was just thinking when you were talking, Matthew, that could you compare Earth to our like our immune system of our bodies? Would you compare that to the actual Earth of the planet? Like, because we were saying like if one crop gets infected, then all the other crops gets infected. And I have this image in my head of when, let's say a family, when all of our immune systems are compromised, one person gets sick, it's much easier for everybody to get sick rather than have one immune system impaired and all the others are healthy. So it doesn't matter what bacteria you have in your body or who's sick. If your immune system is good, you won't get sick.
Well, a couple of things that I would touch on there. One is even the fact that we have to say, I can't find healthy food. Shouldn't all food be healthy? You know, really at the end of the day, I find it interesting that we have the health food section. You know, what does that say about everything else? Is that like the unhealthy food? You know?
Yeah.
It's interesting that we're in that place. 1, 2 is, yeah, absolutely. The soil health has been drastically impacted. And what many people think is that we grow plants, right? I water my plants, I fertilize my plants. But what I've come to realize, and this is just my own journey in education, is it's actually the soil. We feed the soil, we water the soil, we feed the microbiome in that soil. And the more diverse that microbiome is in the soil, the healthier that microbiome is, the healthier your plants are, the more resilient your plants are, the more nutrient dense your plants are, which translates into more nutrient density in the food. So when you think about, if you've ever tilled soil before, dug a hole and flipped over that earth, what you notice very quickly is it dries out and it almost forms like a scab on it, right? As it gets that crust. Well, if you think about droughts and flooding, and you think about the earth with the scabs on it, well, the soil is not, when water falls in it, it's got something that's not permeable. So what happens there? Well, that water, instead of getting into the soil where it fell and then being a part of that system, right, where the water falls, it actually evaporates, and then you get the water cycle there. It's not happening in that way because it's not healthy soil. So the water is running away, bringing more nutrients with it, depleting the soil even further, therefore creating more cycles of drought, flooding, right? So if we can change our focus to helping rebuild soil health with there's a few simple things that can come along to do so. One is feeding it organic matter, keeping it covered and protecting it in that way. But as we do that, that will have major impact on many of the things that we're currently experiencing because of the damage humans have done to our environment. And the climate always changes. The earth is going to be here regardless of the dumb things that we do, right? So if anything, we should be afraid of the dumb stuff that we do, which is actually more than likely going to hurt humanity, less than it's going to hurt Mother Earth overall, right? It will fix itself. It'll rebalance itself out. But we can do a lot of things now because we actually are intelligent. And if we do work with nature and we do embrace the things that I think the Creator intended for us to be able to do, that I think we were created as the stewards of nature, right? We were the ones that can have the ability to nurture it and help it provide for us and life in general, that we're in a very simple way that we can change a lot of these issues that are currently facing us today. But if we choose to ignore it, obviously some controllers have some different ideas on where they want to take all of this. So we'll see how this all turns out.
Well, it's very easy actually to be introduced to what, like food forest abundance. I had shared that on Telegram in our channel, right? I mean, for anybody who's watching, who's interested in how can I start this journey, it's very easy to contact you and to start this journey and to go into a conversation with you to figure out, like, is this for me? Do I have enough land? What would be the next steps? Is this too complicated, right? The onboarding is let's say the connection to you is very easy. You make it very easy for people to be introduced.
Yes. Yes, our intention is to provide simple solutions for people so they can start exactly where they're at. We don't have to do anything complicated. The first and simplest thing we do is offer people a free 30-minute strategy session with the permaculture designer. So they get to sit down with somebody, typically in this scenario, over the computer, and go through a strategy for their own property that can help them get started. And, helping them understand the difference between what we're talking about with a permaculture food forest, which, by the way, permaculture means permanent culture or permanent agriculture. And with permaculture, we use perennial plants, things that come back year over year. But because there's the default programming around the traditional annual garden kind of mindset, we have to do a little bit of, helping people see the difference and understand those differences and how what it is we're talking about can really be a big difference maker for them. Because when you think about the annual garden, the response is typically the same. I've tried that before. I worked hard. I didn't get a big yield. I lost, half of it to the insects and whatnot. And I don't have a green thumb. Those are kind of commonalities that come from everybody when they start talking about their own ability to grow a garden. And that's not what we're talking about. Like, we're literally talking about working in 7 layers with perennial plants that year over year will come back larger and larger and larger and larger, more and more abundant and thriving, and thoughtfully designing that system in those 7 layers, right? The mycelial network, the roots and tubers, your small shrubs, small trees, large trees, and then vines, all of that intermixed in a very thoughtful design will produce a substantial amount of food for you. And it moves from, I have to work to maintain my garden, to I work to harvest my yield. And yes, there is work in the beginning, helping it get established, for sure. But again, when you look at, I've got 100 acres of land out here. Nobody is outside watering my forest every day, but I still have a lush forest. Mm-hmm. The reason that I have that is because my ground is covered. And when the ground is covered and I have this diversity, I'm losing less water because it can be absorbed into the soil, and it retains that water, which will continually feed the microbes in the soil, which will feed my plants, right? And similar kind of concept with the permaculture food forest for growing the food. And then with that strategy session, we really help people see the value of what a design will do for them. And you think about, I'm going to build a house. What's my house going to look like? How much does it cost? All of that stuff. You don't know any of it until you design it. And this is the same concept. We have to get a design done first, and then from there, we can build out and make that thing come to life on your property. And whether somebody does that with us, or they do that with another company, or they learn how to do it themselves, our intention is to inspire them to take some action on growing their own food, and having them really understand why that design piece is so critical to almost like compressing the time it will take them to be successful, which really ties in well to your show and finding your mentor, because that's what mentorship does. It compresses time, right? It saves you the problems that you could experience. You get to work with someone who's been through those things, knows how to navigate those challenges effectively, shortens your timeline to learning, and helps you be successful that much faster when you put those things into practice. Same concept. Okay.
Absolutely. We need, I was just realizing it would be fascinating to have more real entrepreneurs in the areas that are so important and relevant on the show. I just got a message. I just saw a message on YouTube by the CEO of Sear. If you visit, I'll send you the links, Matthew. Sure. Sear-corp.com. It's actually listed on the stock market. Company is called Strategic Environmental and Energy Resources. I think this would be a very fascinating company for you to get to know. And he mentioned a partner company of his called Pelochard. So I'm going to connect you guys. I think that's probably going to be a great match.
Yeah, outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm sure that there would be a huge benefit there for their product and for food forest abundance, and especially with your background in energy. What a good match.
Yeah. It was an exciting transition to go from capturing the energy of the sun to produce energy for homes or electricity for homes, to now capturing the energy of sun to produce plants, which then fuel humanity. So it was a fascinating switch. And I had no experience in permaculture. About 18 months ago, I'd never really even heard of it. Like I had heard the term, but that's kind of where it ended. Mm-hmm. And now, sitting where I am, having a chance to speak with incredible people all across the earth, about what's possible with this. I'm very grateful, and I feel full of joy that it's what I get to do each day.
I can imagine. I'm just excited to even have you on the show. I can't imagine talking about this all day. If I was you, I would be like so excited. And it's almost like you're connecting to the most interesting people because they're already open for this. They're aware, they're conscious, and they're very much awake, I'd say.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people are looking for solutions, right? It's no surprise now as they walk into the grocery store and see things gone up 2 times, 3 times more expensive than they used to be, and way less of them, and sometimes even none on that shelf. They start to go, uh-oh, what am I doing? So far, nothing. Maybe I should do something. And that slap in the proverbial face, or the proverbial slap in the face, can really shake them out of like, uh-oh, I need to take action on this now, because based on what I've saw over the past 2 years, the indicators are there's going to be some more of this, and it's time for me to do something about it.
Well, a great check-in for everybody watching is something you just said before. So think about all of the products, all of the things you consume, just food, not even considering all the other stuff, right? Just food. How much of that would we be able to produce? Is it 1%? Is it less? That's a big check-in there.
Yeah, and remember, these companies that are manufacturing a lot of the things that we consume, you always got to ask yourself, whose best interest are they keeping in mind when they're manufacturing said product? And I don't want to come across like I'm saying everybody in every company is bad, because that's not at all the case. And you have to understand, if you think about the ones that are public and they have shareholders to appease, they do things for a reason, to produce a profit, because that's what their fiduciary responsibility is. That's their responsibility to their shareholders. But for you as the consumer, understanding that is important to helping you make decisions on what you buy. And if you forget about those things and you think these people and these companies are only, they are looking out for your best interest all the time, then you may want to check yourself, because it's definitely not true. And I can give you a really great example. There's a product called Simply Orange. It is labeled 100% orange juice. Oh. A fantastic product, at least what the label would tell you. But it turns out that this company is now being sued because they've got forever chemicals inside that product. And what are forever chemicals, you ask? Well, they're chemicals that do not go away. They're carcinogenic. They stay in your system, and they're extremely toxic, and they're hurting people. And now this company has been found out because of third-party independent lab testing, and they're being sued. But there's nothing on their labels about this. You would have no idea. You're drinking a healthy orange juice, you think. Turns out that's not the case. Now, why are these things in there? I don't know. Hopefully it comes out in the legal proceedings, but that's just one example. You can look at another one. Johnson & Johnson baby powder. How long was that stuff on the market with, best intentioned moms and dads sprinkling the powder on their babies' butts? Turns out that, again, has some serious chemicals and negative things in it, and it's hurting people. And again, we don't want to, I'm not trying to say that all these companies are bad, because that's not it, but they have a responsibility to their shareholders, and they cut corners and they do things that aren't thinking about you and your best interest. So if we realize that those things are happening, you now as an individual, you can either choose to ignore all of that, or you could be proactive and think about, what am I buying that goes into my household? What are all the chemicals that are in my cleaning products, my laundry detergent, my food, right? The things I spray in the air, my perfumes. The list goes on and on and on. And it's rather daunting when you truly think about it, but there are thousands and thousands of chemicals that they can hide inside these ingredients that they can get really, really cheap. and they can do certain things with labeling to allow them to be in there. And who pays for it in the end? Well, cancer is expensive, in case you didn't know, or treating an autoimmune disorder that you have to deal with the rest of your life. That's expensive.
It is. It is. Another thing that I discovered was, which I wasn't aware of, because the whole septic system in Germany is so engineered through and through, is that, for example, here I'm living in a family house right now, and there's a septic field, and I had to understand what that meant. So they told me the septic field is where the water, whatever water comes out of your house, flows into, partially it's filtered, but then it flows into your, let's say your garden, the land around the house, into this certain area. But this house is connected to its own well. And I'm like, wait a minute. So the water that comes in through the faucet is what flows out through the faucet, actually? And they're like, well, it's not very close. I said, what do you mean not very close? What is not very close? And he's like, well, I don't think it really has an influence, but nobody could really tell me that. And I'm like, I'm thinking about all of the things that are in this household that are being used and are toxic. And I'm like, this is insane. And you know, when you think about it, it's just normal detergent that we use, and we're not, you know, we're shifting everything, but we're not drinking the water anymore at this point. We get well water somewhere else where there's nothing around, but it's very, I think there's a lot that America still has to learn about itself. And I think that it's so sad, because we're at a point where America is very young compared to Europe. You cannot compare it to Europe. It hasn't had that time to evolve yet it's more innovative than any country I've experienced in Europe. There are things here that make America so unique and so fascinating. And it's so, America can make leaps and bounds because it's such there's something very pioneering, very flexible about America that makes it so different. So you can progress in, on one hand, can be much faster than or done much faster than anywhere else. Yet the understanding that we have a system that is crumbling right now, and it's not crumbling in, for example, Germany the way it is here with health. I feel like it's almost like farmers are being kept from you here. Like, why? I don't understand that. I don't feel the same. They have issues in Europe, but they're not being held from you the same way they are here. So it's almost like America has this huge potential to move forward and make a huge quantum leap, yet we're starting from a point that is much more severe in how far it's developed with the food complex. The orange juice you just mentioned, I have in my refrigerator downstairs. I'm like, I'm going to go downstairs right now and throw it away.
Yeah. Take a look at the lawsuit.
I saw the post on your Facebook profile. I'm like, wow. And I have cranberry juice and I have orange juice from them because it tastes great. Then I saw something on it today. I was researching. I said, it says it's actually made from non-orange juice. And I'm like, what does that even mean? I never looked at it. And it says healthy and organic on it or something. I'm like, that's an oxymoron. I fell for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways.
A lot of people do.
I think that we could probably all go on talking about this for hours. I'm really grateful that you could come on today. And the most important thing for me in everybody listening is how easy it is to start growing your own food, and that there are experts like you, Matthew, that can take you by the hand and your company and show you how to do it. And it doesn't matter where you live in the world, you can contact Food Forest Abundance and Matthew and anybody in Food Forest Abundance and figure out what's the next best step for you to learn how to take back your power, take a hold of your food situation. We are not powerless. The opposite. We have it all in our hands. We just need to take that power back.
Yes. And I just want to say that, you know, you use the word easy, and I'll change the word just slightly. It's simple. It's simple. It still takes some work, but so does caring for your lawn, right? So a lot of people care for this lawn to make sure it's nice and green and keep up with the Joneses, and they spray all this stuff on it and cut it and invest this time doing it. And the food forest is less work than that. It is something simple that once it gets set up, we let nature do what it's intended to do. We're not trying to control it or fight it or manipulate it, change it. We let it do its thing. We provide it with a good base, meaning we work on the soil, rebuilding the soil, and stay conscious of that. We work with diversity and really embrace all of those things. And then, like I said, let nature do what it's supposed to do so that we can go on and get great food production from our own properties, and then ideally start inspiring other people around you to do the same. And I'd like to have people think about this too, because if you're thinking about food security for yourself, well, if you're the only one with food production, you ain't got food security. Just so you know, if shit does hit the proverbial fan, and you don't have other food producers around you, you become the target for food. So a good thing to do, start growing food for yourself, and then work on inspiring those around you to also take some of those simple actions and help them get growing too. So you can really create an environment of true food security.
Yeah, community gardens are actually pretty big here. But it's because there are a lot of poor people, and that's the actual reason. It's less because they're bored. There really is an issue here with food costs that are through the roof, and a lot of people that live here really are not very well off. There's a huge gap between rich and poor here. So yeah. It's become a wonderful thing, actually. My mom, I think she leads 2 community gardens, and it's amazing. The potatoes are delicious anyways. Yes.
Yeah, you can grow so much incredible food. As we've mentioned, nature is abundant. A lot of what most people do, and again, nothing wrong with it, it's just understanding the differences. Most people grow annual crop, but that takes, I have to replant year over year, right? And what we're talking about is leveraging the plants that you plant them once, they keep coming back, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, more abundant year over year. That's our major difference. Now, we will still incorporate annual production, especially in the beginning, to help increase yield. But in time, there's a major shift in what the attention is put on, and that is the perennial crops, because that's where your abundance comes from.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. I was excited about this, and I'm very, very pleased for the two of you to have this up and off the ground and starting to roll, inspiring people, helping people with mentorship and everything that's possible because of it.
We have Bree Faith in the chat room asking, Matthew, do you address invasive grasses and pests like voles? I guess maybe voles or moles?
Yes. So again, a lot of the things that from a permaculture philosophy standpoint, the problems are the solution. Now, just to be completely clear, I'm not a permaculture designer. That isn't what I do within the company. I have a good grasp on the high level concepts, but as far as the specifics around managing certain things, I can tell you that in permaculture, we take those things as opportunities for looking for a solution. So one example, and if anybody has ever watched the show, it's called The Biggest Little Farm. It's on Netflix, and they take this massive piece of property, 200 and something acres, and they turn it into this massive, beautiful permaculture food forest. And as they're going through the timelines there, they experience all kinds of different challenges along the way. But one of the big things they come up with, which was fascinating, is they end up with a massive snail problem. Snails everywhere, millions of them. And they can't figure out, how do we manage this snail issue? Because now their system is out of balance, right? That's what's really going on there, is you have an imbalance in your system. And what they figure out is that they don't have enough ducks. So what do? They go get some ducks because the ducks eat the snails. So in this question around the voles, it would be something similar. Now, if you're in a city, maybe you're not able to have coyotes come and dig those up and eat them. But in their scenario, in the Biggest Little Farm, they did have a mole issue or gophers. And the coyotes at first were going after the chickens, but then they actually rebalanced their system, stopped the coyotes from getting the chickens, and the coyotes ended up handling the gophers and handling the moles. So it was, again, a scenario where they let nature do what it was supposed to do, which helped rebalance the whole system out. This would be something similar, but you can also design in if you have a certain deer issue or voles or whatever. You can, if you know about that ahead of time, when the person is doing the design, and you bring that up to the designer, they can implement strategies to help with that stuff. So the answer is yes. Specific answer on what do you do in this scenario, I can say I don't know.
But you have experts that do.
Yes, we have experts that do,
Yeah.
And that is the most important piece.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Robert, do you have any questions?
No, I think I'm just sitting here taking notes like everyone else, and I want to thank Matthew. Foodforestabundance.com is where you'll find more information. They have a lot of stuff on their website, videos. Jim Gale's doing a lot of videos on his property, so you get to see it kind of in real time, see what he's up to. And if you want to talk to somebody, Matthew is a great person to talk to. Matthew, they can reach you, right, when they call that toll-free number on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to give my email address here as well. If
Sure.
somebody wants to send me an email, it's Matthew, MATTHEW at foodforestabundance.com. Matthew at foodforestabundance.com. Happy to have you reach out that way. And if I can give one more shameless plug, if anybody loves what we're doing and would love to be a part of demonstrating this to other people, we do have a new layer to our business model called the Freedom Farm Academy. And you can think about that very simply as the demonstration sites to showcase self-sufficiency in everything from food production, energy, water, even into healing and education. These locations are designed to be able to give a person the experience, walk through that location and see all the things that are possible so that they can really now change their paradigm from self-sufficient means off-grid cabin in the bush with really nothing, no luxuries, to today, that's not the truth. Today, you can have everything we're used to in our developed society and be completely self-sufficient or mostly self-sufficient. And these locations are demonstrating that. So we'd love to chat with you about that if that's of interest to anyone here. And we're extremely excited about it. It's been phenomenal since we brought that to market.
I can't wait to go check that out. That's new to me.
Yeah. That's what Jim's got in Central Florida. So that really was the catalyst for us to think about these Freedom Farm Academies, because what we were experiencing as we'd been talking to a few thousand people over the past 20-ish months as a business, that disconnect between what's the permaculture food forest and then the mindset of growing food, leveraging, like I said, the annual garden. And because of that disconnect, we started sending people to Galt's Landing to go see a food forest live in action. And every time we sent somebody there, the feedback was, I get it now. The energy is amazing. The food's amazing. I want this for my own property. So it made us say, we need more demonstration sites so people can experience it. And then it made us say, well, why would we stop at only food? Let's show them all the things that are available today to give them that self-sufficiency, which now led us to create what we call the Freedom Farm Academies. And it's been just an incredible 4 months since we rolled that out to the marketplace. And it's incredibly inspiring to see the people that are grabbing a hold of this and deciding to run with it. In these 4 months, we've already got one set up in Thailand. We're working on one in Ghana. We've got 5 throughout the United States and 2 in Canada, with many more on the horizon. So we're extremely excited about where this is headed and believe that it's a very simple solution to some complex problems that adds tremendous value to society and community as a whole.
Wow. Ooh.
That was a lot, huh? Okay, Matthew really can dish it out. It brings a lot of great content. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. We're going to chop this video up into smaller chunks so people can watch it. They don't have to watch the whole 3 hours. They'll be able to watch just your segment on there, and we'll push it out to our channels as well.
Well, again, thank you so much for having me on. It was an honor to be here, especially in the early days, and I'm very happy for the two of you to have this show up and underway. And obviously, you can see it's successful already. And congratulations to you both.
Appreciate it, Matthew. Thank you so much. And you guys are doing a great job. Keep up the great work, and we'll be in touch. We've got another summit coming up in February, and we'll be in touch to bring you guys on board for that as well.
All right, outstanding.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Go back and enjoy the cold weather up in Canada there.
Yeah, right.
I grew up in Montreal, so I know the cold.
I think we're about to get 25 more centimeters of snow.
Oh,
giddy up.
25 centimeters. That translates to about 6 inches, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere there. All right, my friend.
Thank you, Matthew.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you too.
Have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you. Bye, Sophia. Bye, Robert.
Bye-bye. Sophia,
Fascinating.
how do you feel?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. I love to hear that. Okay, great. Well, let's wrap up the live segment here, and we've got just a lot of content. I'm going to chop this video up. I'll probably have time to do that tomorrow, and we'll put up each segment separately so that people could just binge on just the pieces that they want. Sometimes hard to get somebody to watch a 2+ hour video, but if it's 30 minutes, that's a lot easier to get people to do. So we'll do that tomorrow. We'll make sure those are up on our channels as well.
Exactly. Yes. It was like almost like two shows. One very meditative one, and then the other very oriented towards action, more action driven, obviously.
Right.
And both yet equally important and valuable. So yeah, there's something meditative about gardening.
Well, sure. There's a lot of benefits to it. There's grounding. There's all kinds of energy, and certainly calming the nerves. It's like get away from all the computers and be back in nature and reconnect with all that energy. Obviously, and the side benefit is you get food. You get to eat something too at the end of it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you, Robert. And I'd say until the next time.
All right.
Until we hear and see each other again.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this program. If you do, please share it with your friends and followers, and make sure you sign up at findyourmentor.com. We just ask for a first name and email address, and you could be on our list, and we'll make sure that you're informed every time we have a new show coming up. And obviously, as we build out findyourmentor.com, you'll be the first to know about it. You'll be even in the beta program when we get that rolling. So thank you so much. Thank you, Sophia. This is fun, and we'll do it again real soon. Thanks for watching, folks.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.